An otaku is defined as someone who is obsessed with something, particularly anime, manga, video games, or computers, and it's natural for otakus to do things that support their interests, like watching anime, reading manga, or even cosplaying their favorite characters and attending anime conventions. But sometimes these otakus take things too far, like the guy who burned down a building and got 36 people killed, which we'll get more into later. So here are a couple of incidents when Japanese otakus took things too far. The first incident is caused by a type of otaku called Densha Otaku. Well, technically they actually cause many incidents. The Japanese term Densha Otaku refers to people who are obsessed with railways or trains, and they often engage in activities like collecting train models, memorizing train schedules, and especially taking photos of trains. But sometimes these Densha Otakus take things too far. Because of their obsessive interest in trains and railways, they often go to extreme lengths to accomplish their goals. Like when taking photos of trains, these Densha Otakus often trespass on restricted areas of railways to get the perfect shot of rare or iconic trains. To get a photo with the perfect angle, they climb fences, walk along tracks, or stand dangerously close to moving trains. But this obviously affects many other people negatively. Their actions can lead to service delays, as trains are forced to stop to prevent accidents, and even endanger the safety of both the otakus and the railway staff. But it doesn't stop there. Sometimes Densha Otakus can get competitive, leading to arguments or even fistfights to get the best spot for photography. Their obsessiveness with trains and railways can lead to overcrowding train stations, damaged property, obstructing railway staff, and even disrupting train operations. And in Japan, it is a grave issue when trains are late. Like in the rest of the world, Japanese culture sees being late as very disrespectful, but some black companies will go the extra mile and punish employees who are late. These workers are required to pay a fine and even work extra hours at night to compensate for them arriving late, even though it was really not their fault. But that's not all from these Densha Otakus. In 2021, a massive group of Densha Otakus gathered at a train station in Enoshima to take pictures of a train. But while they were busy trying to get the perfect shot, a foreigner suddenly approached while riding a bike, and from their reactions, they were obviously not very happy. They started swearing at him, asking him to get out of the way, but it gets even funnier. The otakus start demanding compensation. They wanted the foreigner who blocked the way to pay them back.
さすがにやべえ。ああ、金だろ。いやマジで金だろ普通に。
Eventually, this incident blew up on Japanese social media and became a viral meme, with many people creating art of the situation and even recreating it in real life. The next incident is the Kyoto animation Arson Attack, which occurred on July 18, 2019. If you're an anime fan like me, you've definitely seen at least one anime made by them. Kyoto Animation, also known as KyoAni, is one of the most popular and beloved anime studios, and they've made many highly rated anime like Clannad, Violet Evergarden, and even the movie A Silent Voice. But one day, a tragedy struck. It all starts with Shinji Aoba, who was born in 1978 in Saitama Prefecture. Little is known of his childhood, but we do know that he grew up in a difficult environment. Later on, he also struggled with fitting in with society and didn't have a stable job. Aoba suffered from severe mental health issues, including delusions and paranoia. And in 2012, he was convicted of robbery after threatening a convenience store clerk with a knife and served time in prison. After his release, he lived on welfare and became increasingly isolated. All of these factors eventually led to a big attack. Several years before the attack, Aoba submitted his novel to an open writing contest hosted by Kyoto Animation. The contest was held to discover and nurture new talent. But a while after submitting his novel, he saw that Kyoto Animation had plagiarized and stolen his work in the anime Tsurune, which premiered in 2018. This series is about a group of boys in a high school archery club, and the specific scene that he felt was copied from his novel was the scene where the main characters buy discounted meat. In episode 5, which was released exactly 8 months before the attack, Minato and Nanao make a shopping run during a training retreat for the club. Minato proposes buying meat that's near its expiry date, since they'll be eating it all that day and it's cheaper. Nanao compliments him on his clever thriftiness, and Minato deflects the praise by saying that it's something that he's used to because his family has a tight grocery budget. Even though the scene was really just a generic and common trope seen in many anime, Shinji Aoba thought that Kyoto Animation had copied his work despite having zero proof. Thus, he set out with a resolution to make them pay. To prepare for the attack, Aoba purchased 40 liters of gasoline, several knives, and other required items. As he lived far away, he transported the gasoline in containers to Kyoto, a process that didn't raise any suspicions at the time. He also scouted Kyoto Animation's Studio 1 building in advance, which was relatively unprotected and housed many employees. Just a few days later, it was finally the day of the attack, July 18, 2019. Aoba arrived at Studio 1 in the morning and spread the gasoline around the building. He then entered the building's entrance and shouted accusations of plagiarism before igniting the fuel that he had poured around the entrance. The fire spread rapidly, engulfing the building in flames. Many employees were trapped due to the lack of fire escapes, and smoke filled the staircases, making evacuation almost impossible. Aoba then attempted to flee the scene but was stopped by a Kyoto Animation employee. He suffered severe burns to his body and was arrested by the police at the scene. While being arrested, he yelled, "They stole my novel, so I set the fire." As a result of Aoba's actions, 36 people lost their lives, including directors, animators, and other staff members. Another 33 were injured, many of whom sustained life-changing injuries, in a bad way of course. The tragedy sparked an outrage. Countless fans, creators, and companies worldwide provided help, and donations poured in, with over 3 billion yen raised to support the victims and their families. Later on, the truth behind the incident was revealed. It turns out, Kyoto Animation had confirmed that Aoba had indeed submitted his novel to the contest. However, it didn't even pass the initial stage of reviews, meaning it was never published or shared internally. Authorities and Kyoto Animation staff also didn't find any similarities between Aoba's submission and any of the studio's works. Thankfully, Shinji Aoba was charged with murder, arson, and other crimes. He was officially given the death sentence. As for how Kyoto Animation is doing today, even though they suffered a major tragedy and setback, they are gradually recovering and even have multiple anime planned in the future, like the movie Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid, A Lonely Dragon Wants to Be Loved, which hasn't been released yet at the time I'm making this video. Next up is the Mayu Tomita stabbing incident. The victim of this incident, Mayu Tomita, is a Japanese pop idol and actress. She gained a small but dedicated fan base through her performances and appearances in idol events, which are common in Japan's idol culture. But one day, a tragedy struck. It all starts with Tomohiro Iwazaki, who was a big fan of Mayu Tomita. He was completely obsessed with Mayu. He followed Mayu's career obsessively and believed that they shared a personal connection, even though Mayu didn't even know of his existence. He sent Mayu many gifts and letters which were all ignored. But everything changed when one day, Mayu returned one of his gifts. This caused Tomohiro's obsession to worsen. Mayu's act was just a standard in idol culture to set boundaries. However, Tomohiro took this personally. He started sending Mayu threats on social media for rejecting his affection, and even ridiculed her for not acknowledging him. Eventually, Tomohiro's obsession reached the next level, and he took action. On May 21st, 2016, Mayu Tomita was scheduled to perform at a small concert in Kogane, Tokyo, at a venue near JR Kogane Station. Before her performance, she was waiting in a public area near the venue, but right at this moment, Tomohiro approached Mayu with a knife, demanding to know why she rejected his gifts and ignored his advances. Mayu attempted to de-escalate the situation but was unable to escape. Tomohiro then proceeded to stab her 61 times, targeting multiple parts of her body. The attack was so brutal that many of her wounds were life-threatening. After a short while, the police arrived and Tomohiro was arrested. As a result of this attack, even though Mayu survived the attack, she sustained severe injuries, including damage to her vocal cords and face, as well as significant psychological trauma, and her idol career was basically ruined. Thankfully, Tomohiro Iwazaki was charged with attempted murder. However, he showed no remorse even during his trial, saying that he still wanted to kill her for rejecting him. In the end, Tomohiro was sentenced to 14 years and 6 months in prison, but many people were unhappy with this punishment, saying that it was too lenient given how severe the crime was. However, that's not all from this incident. It was later revealed that Mayu had reported Tomohiro's threats to the police before the attack, but they dismissed her concerns, claiming that there wasn't enough evidence to attack. That's all for this video. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. Peace out.